Hey, welcome back. So, as promised, I am here with the quantum healer and intuitive soul coach, Rebecca Joelle. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, tell us a little bit. Obviously, this podcast is all about designing your dream business, right? And like how many people say, I want to be a quantum healer when I grow up, right? Like, that's just not something that we know to even ask for. So, tell us a little bit about your journey and kind of how you got to doing what you're doing today.
Well, I think my journey started a lot like most women, where we kind of get out of touch with our intuition in some shape or form, whether that be the relationships that we have in our life or some events that happen in our life. And I went the traditional path of I went to Berkeley, got my undergraduate, got a master's in public health, and then was raising my children. And I just was looking for my purpose. I just felt really like pushed to find my purpose. What's my purpose? I wanted something meaningful. I didn't want just a job. And so I started out going to a naturopathic doctor, and which is kind of odd, but he helped me with that. And I learned all about metaphysical imprints that can be in our field that can influence our mindset and our energy and how we show up in the world. And I went through that process, and then I went through like this spiritual awakening, basically, which was kind of crazy. So I had a lot of past life memories come up. I could have these instant downloads, these instant knowings, messages about people and things that I was like, but it was truth. It wasn't my truth, but it was truth being channeled through me. I just knew. And it was all very exciting. And I went through that, and I got trained in human design. I started taking classes that I was actually interested in, that I'd long been interested in. And I took theta healing, got advanced training in that, and that really activated my psychic centers, and that connected me with source. So that started me on the path of taking other classes, another metaphysical class, and I started working with people. And then my titles come from source, just like everything else, my guidance. So I was a soul activator, I think, before, and quantum healer, that resonated with me. So that's kind of a short path of explanation of how I got here. Yeah, it was very roundabout, just like life is. Yeah.
And so, obviously, I have somewhat of a similar trajectory to you, right? Like, you don't, like I said, I was kidding around, but like, you don't really expect that you're going to have the path that you do, and then you kind of find out that you have this ability. How did you find that you were able to make the shift between I can do this to this can be a career for me, or this can be something that, that I can feed my family with? Like, how did you kind of like make that? Because I think a lot of people struggle with, the metaphysical gifts and then kind of taking those and putting a business spin on them, be it because of limiting beliefs or really just mastery, right? Really just being naive about business. And so, like, I would love to hear a little bit about kind of how you took those two things and married them for yourself.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I used the tools that I learned on myself a lot first before I worked on other people. And theta healing was really profound and instantaneous in terms of changing my beliefs. So a lot of the beliefs that people have and not stepping into their intuitive gifts is because of past harm and past lives. So some of what I do for healing is I'm a past life psychic. Images come up to me, words, messages from source, and we work on those. So yeah, a lot of the spiritual awakening is people have fear because they've gone through it before. So, or they've been burned at the stake, or whatever experience they had in a past life. So I had to work through that. And then I also had to work through other minds. Like every time I came up against a block, like I was trained by doctors for this metaphysical healing that I do a lot. I release trapped emotions. And when I say it's me and my spirit team. I don't do anything or take credit for this to do this by myself. I couldn't do it alone. So I just did the work on myself. And so the doctors that trained me, in the beginning, I had this like belief that like, how am I going to help someone? I'm not a doctor. I don't know what this disease is or whatever this is. And so I cleared those beliefs as they came up. I cleared them. They came up, I cleared them. And then, I had one moment where I had personally experienced like this breast pain for like 2 years. And my mentor had cleared it, and then it came back. And he's like, you can do this. I'm like, okay. So I kind of had to step out there and work on myself. So it really started with working on myself before working on other people. So with the breast pain, it was just clearing a trapped emotion and having the intention, attention, focus, calling on my team and clearing it from an original event. It's one of the techniques that I use, like an energetic timeline that we all have. So we will often I don't know if you've heard of trapped emotions. Emotion code is kind of so it's kind of like that, but a lot more expanded, a lot more emotions. So we trap emotions, then we carry that through our life or lifetimes. Same thing with metaphysical stuff. And we're carrying it through, and it'll just show up in oddball ways throughout the body. So I did this on myself, and the pain went away instantly when I did it. And so working on myself just gradually over time built the trust in myself. And then I put the trust outside of myself. I trusted that whoever was coming to me was guided to me. And then I could do the work because I had a whole team behind me, my whole spirit team. So people would come to me with like these oddball medical issues like facial pain or one of my clients came to me with some other like genetic issue. And I eventually got to a point where I just didn't pay attention to the medical term. It didn't matter. That's kind of like on the 3D human level. And where the root of it would often be like a trapped emotion, or I see an image of their father mistreating them, or their mother, how they feel about their mother when they were 6 years old, or whatever, emotions or energy or whatever. And I would clear that, and like years of anxiety, years of pain, or I love the weird diseases, because people would come to me and they've seen all the other doctors and they can't clear it. And then they come to me and it's gone in the session because I've cleared the beliefs, I've cleared the emotions or whatever's, it's unique to each person. So that just built the trust. And so I just put the trust outside of myself and my team, and I trusted that whoever was coming to me was guided to work with me in union. That I had that gave me the confidence, and then just working on myself prior to working on other people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it kind of resonates too. For me, obviously, I don't have that medical background and all those things, but just in terms of feeling supported. A question I have for you. So you've kind of been intuitive your whole life, right? Obviously, you've tuned into those gifts more as you've gotten older. Did you ever have a time because I really want to help inspire some of those listeners out there that might feel like they have intuitive nudges. Did you ever have a time where you felt like your intuitive guidance was just kind of run of the mill, like everybody could do what you could do, and you didn't really feel like it was, I don't want to say special because that there's so much ego in that, but like, did you feel like I had no idea that this was a gift, right? Like I just kind of thought this was how I was. And if so, how did you make peace with that idea that, wow, this is something that either I have more skill in or I have more gifts in, knowing that part of the population doesn't necessarily have access to that or isn't aware they have access to that?
I had the gifts, abilities, whatever terminology people are comfortable with. As a child, I would have dreams about family members dying or like a natural disaster before it would happen. But then I was surrounded by myself with people who second guessed my intuition. And, women are great at confirming that for each other. Like just example, like if you're having, questions about someone, the friend, they're trying to be supportive, a female friend, oh, it's probably not that. It's probably just blah, blah, blah. And so as women, we do that a lot. And in the process, we're having your friend second guess their intuition. So that can chip away a lot, like over time. Also just being in the wrong relationships where you're just feeling anxiety, like a baseline anxiety, you're sick to your stomach for like a lot of your life because you're around the wrong people. And you're ignoring ignoring those sensations because that's what you're used to. I firmly believe that everyone has access to these gifts. Like, I'm also a medium, and I wasn't trained in it. It just spirit found and nudged me in the right direction. I think that a lot of it for people is just belief. Belief is the first place, because it's, just again with past lives we might have, or just in the rate and how we were raised as children, if they have some weirdness around the phrase God or religion, or just like being burned at the stake in past lives, they might have had religious issues like in their past lives. So there's just there can be a lot of weirdness there. And also just being a medium, it's most people look at me and they're like, does that freak you out? Does that scare you? And they're right there, that's them blocking that ability because they don't believe in it. They're not open to it. So it's like a lot of people who go through these like spiritual awakenings they're seeking answers. They're open. If you're closed off, then spirit's not going to come knocking on your door. They're not going to try to scare you. I believe that your clairs, your gifts come to you in a way that you're open to receiving. So if they know you're going to piss your pants if you see a live spirit, then they're not going to do that. They're going to maybe show you like a feather on the ground, or, you know what I mean? And then you'll see more of what you notice, because spirit's like, okay, we have their attention. Let's show more of that. So I really feel like everyone has any ability. We're all spirits. We're all energetic beings. I feel like we all have these abilities. It's just the level of which we are open to believing that we have access to them and then working on them, because it takes attention. And it's a lot more, it's kind of like downshifting. Like when I'm doing my healing work, it's very, very subtle. It's not like thunderous boom of God yelling in my ear. It's like I hear a message and I trust it, or a flash in my mind of an image and I trust it. And then the more you trust it, the more you trust it. It's like a muscle that you have to work, right? So that you get more of that. So it's like having the belief, you're open to the possibility, and then trusting it. And I think those two things together really help someone develop their abilities, their gifts.
Yeah, that's really great advice. So, listeners, if you're hearing this and you feel like, okay, I might feel this, or this might be something, give it the opportunity to develop, and really kind of see, let it give you that opportunity to be confirmed, because a lot of times you think like, oh, and when you brush it off, you're basically saying, I'm not interested. I don't want to know that. And you don't realize that, right? Like I know for a long time, I remember, being the child of a narcissist. Like I was constantly conditioned to ignore my intuition, right? And I mean, I've shown you my human design chart. Like my spleen is basically like activated all over the place, and I have incredible intuition, but because of conditioning, I just basically was told, oh, those are your agendas. Oh, that's just what you want. And it was interesting. We were talking the other day in my Facebook group, we were talking about the G center. And there was a gal who said, well, my G center is closed, but I absolutely operate like I have an open G center. And, that's when we were like, some people who were human design readers were like, well, there's conditioning involved, right? So there's definitely aspects of you that, because of what's gone on in your life, and like you said, in past lives, you're conditioned to be a certain way that may be dissonant to what your design is. And that's where you go in and kind of, help them to really recognize, but also isolate that, to bring it up for healing and clearing, which is really, really, really powerful. Do you find that just in your day-to-day interactions with people, because I know people are going to have this question, do you find in your day-to-day interactions with people that you see things, or do you need to be invited to have the conversation? Like, are you talking to someone and then all of a sudden you see a flash, like, or you recognize something about them, or do you need to really tap into that energy in order to know things about a person?
How it happens to me, and I get a lot of downloads, and the clairs, I guess, get activated when I'm exchanging information with someone. So I might get a message, I might see a vision, or they might be talking, the other person might be communicating with me, and I hear a yes or a no, or there's like an intuitive process going on in the background. And it's that trust muscle. So it's also a natural filtering process, to surround myself with the right people. If they're not open to receiving those messages, and then they're not open to me expressing myself that way and sharing that, and I've found that most people are, but I just share it in the moment, because, and I can't help it. And it's also telepathically also, I'm more like with my children, I have more of that telepathic ability. I think most moms do. And yeah, I just share it as it comes. Yeah, but it's also just, you can muscle test, or, is it my highest and best good that's a question I ask a lot. Is it my highest and best good to share it with this person? It's not terribly like scary stuff or anything like that. I don't have like spirits drop down and want to communicate with my friends. Like, I don't have that. That's like a boundary issue. And I don't have those boundary issues with spirits. But I get messages coming through, or I'll hear a word, or I'll see an image, and I share that with the other person. And then it's like, ding, it's like the insight that they needed to make that shift or whatever. So yeah, it's just another sense that I bring into my conversations with people naturally.
I love that. So talk to me a little bit about kind of when people work with you, right? Like when they seek you out, they're like, I have this problem. Like, give people an idea of kind of a little bit about what happens in a session. Like, I think a lot of people, when they don't know what to expect, they're less likely to pursue it, because they're like, their ego goes, oh, this is different. So like, if we could just kind of give them something to visualize about kind of what it would look like to work with you, that would be great.
Right. So it's all over the phone. So I work with people all over the world. And we initially start off with the client describing their issues. It's often a lot of things. And they usually go for like 15, 20 minutes. And then we get off the phone. And my process at that point is to check in with source, and also just get an intuitive feel as to how to approach that issue and how I'm guided to approach that issue. So someone might come to me with anxiety, and as they're talking to me, I might hear, okay, is this a past life issue? No, it's an emotion. No, it's a belief. Okay, they've got beliefs. And so I know how, like, I've got different approaches to work on the problem, and it's unique to each person. So they get off the phone, and if it's a belief issue, I will do my meditation, connect with source, and I'll ask about their anxiety and say it's general anxiety. They might have anxiety just driving. I've had clients that come to me for that, or fears. Let's just say anxiety. So if they come to me with anxiety, then I'll ask how many beliefs are creating this anxiety in their life. And let's say I hear 5 beliefs. I'll hear those beliefs, and they're specific to them. So yeah, I love theta healing, because it's not like you have to journal down and guess what your beliefs are. Like, I hear it very clearly, instantly. And then I'll ask what the replacement beliefs are. And then the replacement beliefs are the healthier version, what we want to change to. So I hear those. And when I get back on the call, I'll share those with the client. That's the one thing I will not do, is change beliefs without their permission, because we're changing their subconscious beliefs. So I try my best to be in integrity as much as I can in sessions. And so with that, I would just share it when I get off the call. But usually there's other issues too. There's relationships or whatever. So I just hear about the beliefs. With anxiety, it often forms as a result of metaphysical issues. And so that's another system that I use. And that's something that I greatly benefited from with my spiritual awakening. Seeing my naturopathic doctor, was learning about metaphysics. One of the first times I saw him, he didn't give me a background of like what he does, but my friends had referred me to him. And he told me, someone put a spell on you. Who do you think could have put a spell on you? And I'm like, what world am I in right now? What are we talking about? And I was just very logical brain at that point. I wasn't in touch with my intuition, or I didn't think I was. I was pretty disconnected. And I was like, what is he talking about? And we get to a name of a person, a female friend. And now looking back, I realized there was a resonance. And actually one of the human design gates, maybe more, I think it's the 57. You have a sensitivity to vibration. And so that's one of the things I have. It's like, and that's also, to go off on a tangent again, but when when someone's lying to you, and we feel it, some people can feel it in their body, or it's the vibration. You can feel that it just doesn't resonate, or there's a dissonance. Moms get lots of practice with this. So anyway, so he told me that. And so the metaphysical system with anxiety, depression, all the mood disorders, or if they feel like they've been cursed their whole life, I mean, they'll actually say that, like, I haven't been successful in my relationships or whatever. That's a whole nother system. So I will go through and see which of these things are affecting them and in their field. And oftentimes when people come to me, there are many things that are in their field. And then I'll show them energy hygiene practices to keep their energy clear. Since we're energetic beings, we can put we are sloppy with our energy hygiene, most humans. And so all it takes is just sitting out a thought. And if that person is open to receiving that thought, then they'll take it on and they'll not know why they've been crying for the last week. So I check all of these things with the metaphysical. If there's trapped emotions, I work on that. I mean, I also do Reiki. I actually don't do Reiki as often as the other things because I feel like those get to it. So then I get back on the call. I tell them this is what I found. And they're like, whoa, I have these things on me. But a lot of what I do is educational. So with the energy, metaphysical imprints that we pick up, thought forms or entities or energy vampires or whatever, I come from an educational standpoint with my clients. So they know that I can also test who they came from. So these metaphysical things that they've picked up on, where did they come from? Like exactly who. And oftentimes, so I'll get back on the call. I'll explain all, what I've done. And then if they want to change those beliefs, then I will do that when I get off the call. And then I'll message them, letting them know that it's complete. And sometimes clients will be like, I mean, most of the time people are like, I feel amazing. I feel great. I've never felt this free. And I don't have any anxiety my whole life. I felt amazing. But this metaphysical stuff they can pick up again. They're like, how can I feel so crappy now? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, you picked up something. Who have you been hanging around with the last couple of days? So it's an ongoing process. It's not like I remove something and it's, it is gone, but who you surround yourself with in person, but also online. People can energetically attack you online. That's pretty common because they're competitive, they're jealous, or, whatever. So yeah, just knowing how to keep your energy hygiene clean is really important. So that's kind of more or less how a session goes. Like, it just depends on what comes forward. Past life issues might come forward. I had a client who had thyroid issues and she was being psychically attacked by her mom. And she was on thyroid medication. She was in her early 20s. She didn't have any other, it made no sense why she would have this issue other than energetics. And so she was being psychically attacked. And I saw this past life issue where she was being, there was a couple past life issues that came up actually. One where she was a rope around her neck and the other one where she was decapitated. And I told her about this. And oftentimes during a session, I'll have chills at the same time my client has chills, which is kind of fun because I'm working with people all over the place, all over the world. And she told me, oh my gosh, I've always had a fear of being hung or something like that. And it's like, wow, and she thought that's normal. It was normal for her, but most of us don't have that fear. So yeah, it's interesting work. I love it.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated because there's some things that I resonate with so much as a healer. And there are some things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I could never, I couldn't even imagine that, and again, I mean, you've been on your path a lot longer than I have. So, you kind of have that edge of having all that experience, but it's just so neat to listen to some of these things and to just hear the ways that people don't even see. The thing, I mean, and I'm talking to the audience, obviously not you, but people don't realize the map is not the territory. Like what you think is real and what you think is possible are so exponentially different than what they really are. Like we think that, oh, we have no qualms about the fact that Rebecca and I are connecting right now over the internet and we're having a conversation one-to-one. That we can understand, but we can't understand that we can make the same energetic connection without this external technology. Like that leap is too much. We can understand that pharmaceuticals can cure problems and can fix things in our body, but we can't make the leap that, naturopathics and homeopathics can do the same thing. And you have to understand, like you have to see, hopefully, that that's conditioning. That's just what we were told was real and what we were told was a lie. And if we think back to all the things in our life, this is me pulling from my, my neuroenergetics and NLP training, what used to be true and what is no longer true, like they hold different space. So just being open to the idea that, okay, but what if I could connect energetically to someone? I could muscle test. I could do the emotion code. What could that do for you? And it's like, what do you have to lose? Like, even if theoretically it was a placebo effect, but it made you feel better, and it's not, by the way, but if it was, wouldn't you do it anyway? Right? Like if you could create an illusion in your mind that it was real, wouldn't you do it anyway? So it's like people fight so hard to hold on to their limiting beliefs. And for what? Like, well, who are you serving? And that's where the real crux of it is, because you are serving an energy, and it may be your parent, it may be your grandparent, it may be a starseed in a faraway galaxy. Right, exactly. And so just hearing this like on a practical level is just really powerful for me to hear. So thank you so much for sharing this, because it's really eye-opening. So tell me, how do people get a hold of you if they want to work with you, if they want to get into your energy, if this resonates for them and they're like, oh yeah, she's totally my person?
My website is IamRebeccaJoelle.com. I'm also on Instagram. I am Rebecca Joelle, and people can find me on Facebook.
Awesome. I'm just going to type that in here because I should have done that already.
And I just wanted to say, like, being trapped in our minds, like a lot of us are. And I feel like, I don't know if this was for you, but learning about my human design was really like the initial thing that got me out of my head and into my body.
Yes.
And that's, a lot of people are operating from their mind, and that's not true, and then once you get into your body, what you feel like, that's where you get the intuition, that's where when you start, because even just a lot of moms, like, we're just like, we don't know we know how our son or our daughter is feeling or what they need, or are you hungry or whatever, but we'll go through the whole day and be like, wait, when they're little, especially, like, wait, did I eat? We don't think, am I hungry? How am I feeling right now? Like, just as a baseline, like most people don't even know how they're feeling, because they're up in their head most of the time.
I actually, I think you'll appreciate this. I downloaded a really awesome example of this, and I want to hear what you think. So basically, if you had a job and you have an iPhone, your iPhone gets used to your traveling patterns, and it tells you when you need to leave, and that you already know, like, look, it already downloaded into hers, and that's so cool. And it tells you when you need to leave in the morning. So you're, it's like, leave now to get there on time. But then, like, say you don't work there anymore, your phone's still going to tell you need to go there until you go, oh, well, wait a minute, I'm not going to listen to my phone because my phone has the program that I work there. So am I going to then go, oh, my phone's right, like, I don't work there anymore, but my computer is telling me that I do. And that's what our mind is. Our mind is literally a problem-solving program that we have the illusion of being us, but it's a computer. And we can go in and go, nope, that doesn't apply anymore. Nope, change this. We work here now. We leave at this time. I work in the night now. And so you need to remind me at 11 o'clock at night that I need to leave for work, or so on and so forth. But we just take it as the gospel that our mind is this like supercomputer that, runs everything. It doesn't even, there is no mind authority, right? Our authority comes from somewhere in our spirit body, which I think is really powerful. And there are some entities that don't want us to know that. and they go
Right.
their way to make sure that we don't connect to our body.
Yeah, and our mind is so limiting, and I don't think we realize this until we connect to a greater energy source, universe, whatever you want to call it. Like the downloads that we get, we're just like, you know, it's like, yes, that energy, that information is so much more expansive than our brains could ever possibly, you know, other than just being the spirit body, energetic bodies that we are, to be able to receive that information. It's mind blowing, right? Like most of the time when people have downloads, they're just like,
yeah, and you don't expect it, and you don't know it's coming, and then you're just like, and you're like, hold on, I can't even put this into English.
But there's no such thing as time. Like what? You know, like
yeah, or like the 5 dimensions. Like, oh, you're actually a paper doll of yourself that stretches out forever in like both directions.
Right. In all directions. Yeah, and there is no past life. It's all happening at the same time. Like what? Yeah,
I know. Oh my gosh. See, this is why we're friends. Because like you can't have these conversations with everybody, you know. And by the way, you guys, if you're out there and you're like, this is so over my head, listen to it. Listen to what resonates. Take what resonates, study it, go talk to Rebecca, come talk to me, you know, have conversations about these things. This is our truth. This doesn't have to be your truth. And in this moment, it may not be your truth, and that's okay. So just understand that this is an expansive conversation, which is really designed, because I love that word, which is designed to help you think outside of your map, because your map isn't the territory, right? Your map is what you know, and it's the boundaries of where you've been, but there's so much out there. And Rebecca is one of those people that is going to hold your hand responsibly and, you know, equitably in all the ways to make sure that that you feel comfortable on your path, that you feel supported, and that you finally get to start living that dream life that you know you deserve. Deep down, you know that is your birthright. And we've got to get some of that junk out of the way. We got to pull the junk out of the drawer, reorganize the drawer, so you can go, I know exactly where that, you know, pliers is, and I know where the wine opener, I can't think, the can opener, the wine opener, the whatever, the corkscrew, that's it. I know where the corkscrew is. It's right on the side there.
I know what it's called.
Right. I know. Any final thoughts for these guys? Anything else you want to share with them before we let you go?
Yeah, to hop on what you were just saying, I think that like this is just an expansive opportunity, and like my truth, your truth isn't their truth, and it might just be about timing. But if there's like an inkling of this, people are listening and there's a remembering, you know, just kind of, that's your body, your heart, like your compass, tuning into that and tuning more into that. And then that will open up your world in ways that you could never, you know, understand before.
Right. Until you remember.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Rebecca. It has been my sincere pleasure. You guys check her out, hang out with her, get with her on Instagram, all the things. She's amazing. You can tell just from this broadcast, her energy is wonderful and high vibrational, and you guys all deserve to have her in your energy field as well. So thank you so much for being here. And that'll do it for this week on the Dream Design Podcast with Amy Lee. Until next week, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, and may you be at peace. Namaste.